Well, thanks for the introduction, Steve. I guess I use the term regenerative because I kind of get a little tired of hearing the term sustainable all the time. I believe that regenerative takes it one step further. I think sustainable is only maintaining, but I believe that we can build our soils back to the way they were when we first come over here before we started eroding them down. So, first of all, this was our first year with strip till, and this is our first field that we planted actually. As you can see, it's corn on corn. It's got its own set of challenges. It's a pretty good shot there where it's straight. So we went from passive RTK in 2013 to this past year to active implement guidance. So that was a challenge in itself. Some of the row starts were pretty close to the last corn row, but nonetheless, we made it work. So some of the things that we're seeing here with our strip till corn on corn is on this particular farm, really sandy, gravelly land, we're seeing about a 10 to 15% yield increase from our change in management practices. And by that I mean we used to chisel plow this and cultivate it or disc it again and then plant the corn, and we let go an awful lot of moisture with tillage on our light land, and now we're strip tilling, and also moving from a standard side dress time with a standard toolbar to our VRA Green Seeker Y drop program. It's not gonna go. There we go. Trying to go backwards here.
That red one, little red one?
Yeah. So this is my #1 field assistant, my dog. I had her before my girlfriend actually. My point here is that every operation needs good help, and I think that she is alongside of me most of the time when we're learning with our shovel. She's out there. It's her favorite spot out in the cover crops. So we've been on our home farm for over 100 years. It's something that my grandfather wanted me to point out before I left here. I asked him if there was anything particular he wanted me to mention. And he's been farming it for 60 years. He broke it up out of 150 acres out of basically grass kind of pasture setup that was in 10 fields. And since then, we've eroded our home farm down to about 2% organic matter, or oxidized the organic matter. So we let it back up in the atmosphere. This is our strip tiller. It's a Soil Warrior 12 row 30. It's made by Environmental Tillage Systems. We're using RTK signal quality here along with active implement guidance. It has a steerable axle on it. Right here, this cylinder goes back and forth, and then it orients the axle either way, so it stays on track along with the tractor. So, because we can't drive on our strips. The product delivery is run by a John Deere dry rate controller. We're kind of on the green side of things here. And the system's interfaced with a GS3 monitor. Having a little difficulty here. So as you can see, we're now by no means running brand new equipment. We're making it work with older model machines. This tractor, our planter tractor, is a 1998 8100, and we're running mismatched implement widths. So we strip 12 and then we plant 24, and we have to have this accuracy in order to straddle the guest row. And actually, in this picture here, we're doing just that. So the technology's there, so we're trying to take advantage of it. And this system is by no means my idea. I kind of got it from Candlins, which Wayne just won the Innovative Farmer of the Year here in the preceding conference, and they're really true innovators. And I just also want to thank Paul Raymer. He's kind of the first fellow who got us involved in the soil warrior. Give me Wayne's name, and I called him up, and that's kind of what got all the ball rolling here. So with our planter, we're using a ProTracker side shifting hitch. It's got about, I think it's 26 inches of travel, so about 13 from either side, and that's what allows us to stay on strip. So one thing, we've upgraded quite a few things on this planter. Row clutches was something that we did when we put the Air Force system on 3 years ago, I believe. Now, with all this technology, it involves a lot of planning and setup, so you got to have things right. So the first field, actually my cover slide that we rolled into, Dad started planting because we were usually around the strip tiller, and we actually no-tilling the farm at the time. And what happened was I forgot to load in the configuration settings from the year before, and he ended up, the row clutches weren't working, so the seed was staying on going through the headland. So we had about 180 feet, about 3 passes before I figured it out to get the row clutches corrected and get the configuration settings back in. And so it was a bit of a check strip. So my brother and I pulled into the field in the fall to harvest, and it was a fairly consistent headland. So on our inside pass, it was running about 170 down. It's on the bottom ground, and when we got out of that, we picked up about 30 to 40 bushels. So that was, number one, we're saving on seed, but also on that inside headland pass, we're picking up a tremendous yield. And if you can grow as good a crop on the headlands as you can on the center of the field, it's usually an indicator that you're headed in the right direction. So with the reduced tillage that we're using, we're now trying to focus, we try and minimize compaction at all costs. We actually invested in some new IF tire technology. Those are 1250s that we ran on the buggy this fall. We're really happy with how they worked out. We had to put stock stompers on the corn head as a disclaimer. Just really trying to pay attention to details with tire pressures, and not quite as exact as Ryan's controlled field traffic, but it's a version of it. And our soils are changing with the abandonment of intensive full surface tillage that we used to do. And this is our sprayer as well. It's going to be 20 years old in 2016. And it's run by a liquid rate controller. We've got swath control on it. We're running our Green Seeker Y-dropped with it. And it's easy for us to manage our waterways that way with the section shutoffs. And there's a bit of a learning curve for it. We smoked out a few waterways. Didn't have the lines quite set right, but it's only one way you learn, and now we really try to avoid that. So I guess my real passion I've come to embrace in agriculture is soil health and cover crops. I believe that this is what's going to take us to the next step in our operation. So multi-species mixes have been our best cover crops. We used to grow a lot of red clover, but we were a little disappointed, and sometimes we weren't addressing the spots that we think needed the catch the most, which is our sandy knolls. The diverse species, they seem to take over one over the other depending on different parts of the field, and we're really happy with what we see when we put a shovel in the ground. And like I said, our soil health has become the cornerstone focus of our operation today. So that's one of our 10 species multi-mix that I planted this year. I just wanted to point out something that I learned the past couple days that I thought was really powerful from Dr. David Montgomery, that our global annual erosion rate is 23 billion tons per year. And so it's pretty apparent that we just cannot continue down this road. And obviously, I think people have heard this before, but the nation that destroys its soil destroys itself. And as farmers, without healthy soil, we really don't have much. It's the most precious resource on this planet. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again, that the more I learn about soil, the less I treat it like dirt. Thank you.
This video is brought to you by Farms.com.